It's here. It's, no, not Christmas. A few days yet. But it's here. I'll show you. It's quite exciting because I was beginning to doubt whether it was going to be coming. But it's here. There it is. Gold. Yep, it's my first delivery of manure, horse manure. And well, I've been building up to this moment really, all of that preparation of the new compost area. But I've got just one other thing to do before I can start to offload, and that's take away the sort of lattice work I strap behind the compost area so that I can offload it from the upper level. So this has got to come off now, and then hopefully I can bring the wheelbarrow down there, up here, and tip into there. That's the plan. Right, let's get rid of this trellis. Well, I've dusted off my horse manure moving tools, my pitchfork and my large shovel. I was thinking this morning, motivation can get quite difficult this time of year. I really didn't feel like coming onto the plot this morning. And then I got the call to say that there was horse manure to pick up. And strangely, that gave me a bit of motivation. And it's always the way when I get out onto the plot, I get that spark of thinking about what I'm going to grow next year, and it just gathers momentum and I get enthusiastic again. And many of you know I'm a very keen photographer, and it's very similar. Getting out with your camera early in the morning to get the good light takes a big push, but once you're out there, fantastic. So, stop waxing lyrical, get on with the job. So if any of you are wondering, this isn't my car and this isn't my trailer, but being a garage that the gentleman works for, it's insured for any driver, so I get to pull this trailer from the local garage, not far away, all the way to the plot. Then I get to empty it and take it back where I pick my car back up. It's a fantastic arrangement. So this is horse manure from stables. The gentleman's got a couple of horses, and of course this time of year, as the weather gets bad, they get put indoors more and more, and that of course generates more of this gold to get put on my allotment. Good times. Works. Fantastic. Of course, as I fill this up, it wants to fall out the front, so I'm going to have to find some way of keeping it from rolling out. And I've got a bit of a cunning plan. That lattice that I had along the back, I think it's going along the front now. Let's see what I can do. Well, your plans develop as you go along, as is always the way. And these bits of board, they're a bit flimsy and not really a proper job. So if I take them out, I should be able to get that lattice in the front. Let's see. Now it will go quite a long way. In fact, those two might even stretch the whole length. Right, let's see. I'll have to somehow fix them in. Probably just a stake or two. For now, let's just wedge them. Perfect. Right. And then that can just lean. It will trickle out the holes a little bit, but there's so much hay in here that it will bind without any problem. And that should get me another 2 or 3 feet up now. Good times. Well, that's pretty physical stuff, but I can tell you it's really good for you. And that one whole trailer clearly equals one full bay, well, at least at the moment, because the heat in here is already evident and it will start to diminish in size really quickly. So when you envisage a layout like this, you hope that it will work. But I can tell you, it made that job so much easier than usual. Just being able to come in from the top made a world of difference. And it's gratifying when you have a plan and then make it happen. So, the last few bits on top. I won't cover this, because if we get a bit of rain, it'll dampen it, and that'll be fine, because this sort of heap benefits from a little bit of moisture in it. It gets the process really ticking along, and this will get to a mighty fine heat later on in the week, I think. I'll probably put the thermometer in it later to see what the change is. That'll be very interesting. Critical mass of a pile of manure like this is important. If you've got a thin layer, it just doesn't build to the heat you need. And there's lots of seed in here from the hay, various other weeds and things, and that heat is absolutely essential to kill those seeds, so that when you get to putting it on the plot, you don't have any weed seed in amongst your compost. It occurred to me while I was doing this that vegetable growers, allotmenteers, vegetable gardeners, we're, well, the ultimate planners really, because this is for 2023. Wow, what a thought. Good times. Well, today's video nearly didn't happen, and that was because this microphone, whilst it's charging, well, it melted, and the plug that charges fused into it and won't come out. So when this microphone actually runs out of power, kaput. Fortunately, the nice people at Amazon decided that they would send me a replacement. Big up for Amazon. So I can carry on. Well, it's that time of year again when I start to think about what I'm going to sow next year. And to be honest, it's quite a lot different from previous years. Only in one way though, not in terms of what I'm going to grow in the way of seeds, but I've made a monumental decision. And that is that I'm not going to grow anything early indoors. Nothing on the windowsill, nothing in a heated propagator. And each year I've managed to grow pretty much everything I need from the polytunnel, starting February time with probably onions. The big challenge is going to be peppers, and I haven't quite got my head around that yet. I might just buy a few pepper plants, but I might also sow some in the polytunnel and see if I can germinate them. We'll see. So let's get down to what I've got here, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So it's a top-down view of my seeds for next season, and well, no particular order. We'll just go through what I've got and what I'm thinking. So brown envelope of Czar, which is my own saved seed, and I think there'd be enough in there. If not, then I can find another bunch of runner bean seed without any problem at all. Also saved seed, I've got these broad bean masterpiece green, and this is broad bean masterpiece green. So I've got a lot of broad beans that have been saved from previous years, but I've also got broad beans in the shed which are ready to take out of the pods, and they'll be my first choice, not these older ones which didn't get planted last year. In terms of carrot, there's only one carrot for me, and that's Sweet Candle F1, and I think this one is completely empty, so the yellow post-it is a need to buy. Next comes Cabbages or broccoli, and I've got purple sprouting broccoli for next year, and that's what I'm currently growing to harvest in the next couple of months. And I've got Cabbages which I'll sow in April time for the summer. So that's the Cabbages. Keeping with the fleshy green vegetables, I shall grow my favourite kale, which is Nero di Toscana, which is the Cavolo Nero style kale, and also some red ursa, which is a Russian kale, which I didn't grow this year and I missed it. It just adds a bit of colour to the plate, and it's a pleasant kale to eat. Cabbages, well, by far and away the most successful cabbage because it completely resisted slug damage, where these Filderkraut cabbage, they're massive, and I only really need to grow probably 6. But I will grow a couple of this Greyhound cabbage, which seems to do really well in my compost, and I can eat those early, but I need to do that because they do like to be munched by the slugs. Parsnip, I always grow Gladiator, and this is an F1, and fresh seed every year is the only way forward with parsnip because old seed tends not to germinate, and these are sow by 2025, so they're a packet I recently picked up, as I did with Swede, and I've chosen Helena to grow this year, and I'm going to grow a lot more Swede because I ran out this year. Leeks, I bought a new packet of Musselburgh, which is my favourite, and last year, or this year, and we're still harvesting them, I grew Leon. I couldn't remember the name of these, but they've grown really well, so no reason not to sow them again this year. Okay, onions was a real challenge this year, as you know, because I had white rot, but I'm going to stick with the varieties that I've grown, the best of which was Globo, and I've got a new packet of Globo arrived. Zebrune, which can be quite difficult to get. It was in short supply this year, so I bought a new packet of that, both of those from Real Seeds, and an ongoing packet of Ailsa Craig and an ongoing packet of Bedfordshire Champion. My biggest challenge this year is finding locations to sow them where I don't have white rot.
Although I have to say, even the onions in beds that had white rot, I've been surprised by how well they have kept, and they're still stored in our garage at the moment. Spring onions, I grow a few spring onions. We don't eat a massive amount, but white Lisbon, a traditional spring onion, is one of my favourites, so we'll be growing some of that. Over into this corner then, we've got one or two of the warmer weather plants. So lettuce, just a variety, Arctic King, which you can grow all year, and crispy lettuce leaves blend, which is nice to sow in boxes for sort of ongoing picking and use. So they're the salads. I grow a little bit of coriander. Some years I have great success, some years not much, but this variety, Cruiser, is known not to bolt, so that's one that I'm going to grow. Always grow some sweet basil. I've done a lot of trials in the past, and to be honest with you, I come back to the standard sweet basil, which always grows very well indeed. A little bit of rocket. This sort of self-seed or self-sows in my polytunnel, but I will grow a little bit of it because it's great to add to salads. Some parsley, and that is some sweet basil as well. We'll grow both those because they're of different ages and just need to make sure that we get some. Cucumber, I'm just going to grow what I've got, which is Market More 76. We only really grow 1 or 2 plants because we don't eat an awful lot of that. And courgettes, I've got this zucchini courgette seed, and this is quite old. It says so by April 2021, but if I need to get some more of that, I will. And over to beetroot, my 3 favourite beetroot, which I've grown year on year: Boltardi, Solo F1, and Barbaretola di Chioggia. Always struggle to pronounce that one. So that'll be the beetroot this year. In terms of celeriac, I've got 3 varieties which are on the go. And for me, it's all about spacing, not particularly about variety. But I've got Monarch, Ibis and Giant Prague. This year, I think we've dominantly been eating Giant Prague. So probably a mix of those, see what comes up well and plant accordingly. In terms of squash, I've not fully decided. I always like to add a squash that's different each year, but this year I've got this spaghetti squash, which was given to me by one of our subscribers. Thank you very much. I always grow Small Sugar and Winter Luxury, which are very similar, and they're fantastic for pumpkin pie. And this is my saved seed from this year: Golden Hubbard, which was the biggest squash I grew, and Blue Hubbard, which also grew quite large, both very tasty. So they are currently the squash that I'm going to sow, but who knows, I might try 1 or 2 different varieties. Tomatoes, well, there were some real learns last year. I thought Lata was a fantastic tomato. It's quite an expensive one to buy the seed, but I've bought a new packet and there's many, many more than I need in there, so that'll be a couple of years. Dwarf House cherry tomato, which was absolutely fantastic, and I've still probably got 15 seeds from last year, so I'll sow those again. Roma, I really enjoyed the Roma, but I think I ended up with just 1 plant, so I'm going to try and grow a couple more, and that's old seed. And then this is Lata, which is my own saved seed. I'm definitely going to grow this and see if I can perpetuate those plants that I harvested last year. So Lata's going to have some fresh seed and some saved seed. So on top of that, as you will have seen, I've had difficulty growing sprouts, but the recommendation is Brilliant F1, and I have already ordered those from Amazon, so that's an extra. So I think on my list, I might need to look at finding some courgettes, and I think I might need to look for a new variety of squash that I haven't grown before. Otherwise, I'm pretty much set, and I'm going to keep a mind's eye on the plot, just making sure that there's nothing that I've forgotten, but I'll just add that to my list if I need to. So there we have it. Oh, marigolds, of course, saved seed, which has come from the plot. And this year, my endeavour to get rid of bindweed and couch grass from two very difficult beds. I'm going to grow this Tagetes minuetta, which has come highly recommended for competing with those particular types of weeds. That's it. I'm going to clear this away and then show you this. So at this time of year, we get a few seed catalogues through the post. And this is one that particularly took my fancy. So for a start, it's in quite an unusual format. And you can see it there. It's Chiltern Seeds, Grow Something New from Seed. And it's their 2022 catalogue in a long, thin sort of catalogue format. And I'll show you a bit closer in a moment. With this comes the veg book for 2022. So that's quite nice to specifically seek out those of us that are interested in growing veg. And then we've got an order form if you want to do it manually by snail mail, or if you want to do it online, there's a contact method for that process too, and an addressed envelope for the purpose of sending in a manual order. So let me show you the catalogue in a bit more detail. So here we are, the Veg Book 2022, Chiltern Seeds, and you can see there the www.chilternseeds.co.uk web address. And let's just have a look inside. You can see pretty much broken down into the various varieties with some, well, artwork to go along, but a really good selection. So let's just take one particular category. Let's look at parsnip. We've got Gladiator F1, which is their bestseller, and that's the variety I use. There's Guernsey, Javelin F1, and Tender and True, which of course is a real firm favourite. So a good variety of each of the individual vegetable types, and quite a lot of more unusual ones. There's some pumpkins here, Atlantic Giant, Gilby Little, Mammoth or Hundredweight, and Rogue Vif de Ton. So if you're looking for seeds to buy, then this is a great catalogue with some interesting varieties, some staples, and some that I've never heard of, which is always a good thing for trying out something a little more unusual. Let's see if I can find my sprouts in here. So no doubt there'll be an index. No index. Aubergines, beans, runner beans, Brussels sprouts, Dark Mar 21, Evesham Special, Red Bull and Trafalgar F1. So not the variety I'm looking for in this case, but plenty of others to choose from. So if you're looking for a good catalogue, or you haven't seen this Chiltern Seeds one before, I recommend it. I think it's a very nice, comprehensive offer. Well, that's me done for today. And it just leaves me to wish you all a Merry Christmas, or best wishes for any other celebrations that you might have at this time of year.